What would lead a police officer to shoot and kill a disabled man in a wheelchair? The FBI is joining this investigation in Houston. Over the weekend, police say this man, Brian Clonch, was acting aggressively and he tried to stab an officer with a pen. Clonch was a schizophrenic. He was living at a group home for the mentally ill. He's also a double amputee who lost an arm and a leg in a train accident, so he was bound to his wheelchair. Police showed up at the home because the caretaker called to say that Clonch was being aggressive. Police say that Clonch cornered one officer with his wheelchair and tried to stab him with what turned out to be a pen. That officer's partner shot Clonch once in the head, and he died at the scene. Now, this is a tragic story no matter how you look at it, but could it have been handled better? I want to bring in a former police detective, Steve Kardian. Steve, good to see you, but I got to tell you, a situation like this, my first question is, why would you shoot to kill?
Well, law enforcement is trained to shoot to stop the actions of an individual that is causing harm. So they don't shoot to kill. They shoot to stop his actions. This happened to be a fatal shot to the head, but he was not shooting to kill the man.
So your thought is, and we're still getting details on this, your thought is he may have been trying to stop him, and it may have instead somehow he shot towards his head.
Yeah, I can guarantee you that that shot was not deliberate. You know, when you get into a gunfight, or you get into you use your weapon, it's very hard, even within close confines, to plan where that bullet's going to go, Ryan.
Now, Steve, I got to tell you, I could think of about a million different ways that you could handle a situation like this, but Kira and I were talking about this earlier, and when police are put in situations, they have split seconds to decide. Give me your sense of how this should have gone down, what the officers should have done, and whether or not they did the right thing.
If the perfect world, we wouldn't have the Hollywood effect. People see on television over and over, cop shoots the gun out of a guy's hand, cop disarms the man with a knife or whatever it might be. So the public has a really difficult time digesting this because of that fact. Now, the realism of it is that the officer likely saw what the glimmer of steel, if you will, and believing that it was a knife, shot him. However, we do see that a pen can cause a fatal injury. I have one here. It's a needlepoint pen, and it only takes 2.5 pounds per square inch to actually penetrate the skin and possibly cause death.
But, Steve, I think the problem that people have is he's a double amputee in a wheelchair, and he's supposedly cornering a police officer who's standing above him. I can't even picture in my mind how there's so many things you could do. You could tackle him, you could push him away, the other officer could come and pull him and throw him out of the way. And I think people have trouble digesting, as you say, that there weren't other options taken.
Yeah, and you know, we weren't there to second guess. It's a very difficult decision, a split-second decision. Again, if in the perfect scenario, yeah, he would have been knocked over, he would have been taken down by his backup officer. It didn't happen that way. The district attorney's office will eventually get the case. Like you said, the FBI is coming in as well.
All right, Steve, glad to have your input on this one. Appreciate it.
Pleasure, Ryan.